city. No one does. But that's really the worst thing you can do, is to try to hide your head under a rock. When there's a piece of bad news out there that could be material to investors, the best thing to do is to disclose it, because then at a minimum, you've eliminated your disclosure liability as long as you fully and fairly disclose things to the marketplace. And I will tell you, over the years, I've worked with a number of clients which, for different reasons, I had one issuer once who actually forgot to make a payment on a bond issue. They just forgot. It wasn't set up for some automatic thing, and they forgot to do it. And so we had to disclose. I mean, they made the payment a few days later, and we had to disclose that for 5 years, that they failed to make a payment, because that's part of the ongoing disclosure requirement. You know, there was never a question. So they disclosed they made a mistake. They were upfront about it. They disclosed it as soon as it happened. For 5 years after that, they disclosed that it had happened on that one date. They described the procedures they had in place to make sure it never happened again. And there was never a single question that I'm aware of that happened in the marketplace because they disclosed that bad news. So don't be afraid to disclose bad news. It's better than the opposite. And the last recommendation, we're all in favor of this, but the last recommendation from the SEC is make sure you hire experienced professionals to help you with this process, because it is complicated sometimes. I mean, a lot of it is common sense, but some of it is complicated. And you have the most information about your city, but we have information about the kinds of things that historically the SEC has looked at, and we have information about the kinds of things that investors frequently are interested in. So you need to, work with professionals who can help guide you in the right direction. Ask questions of you. Make sure you're informed of what's going on, so that you can do your job the way you need to do your job. Probably almost time. Oh, well, we'll go past that one. That was our ranking for Disclosure Council. We won't go through. Kind of the concluding lesson here is that, with a bond, if you're buying a car, you can go and kick the tires, right? I mean, you can go out and look at a physical asset. If you're buying a house, you can go look at the house and see if the roof looks like it's in good shape. But when you're buying a bond, there's no, real intrinsic value. It's a piece of paper. And actually, in this world, it's a computer entry in most cases. And so the value of that bond is based absolutely on the financial and operating background of the issuer that's agreed to make those payments. That's the value. And the only way to find out what that value should be is to make sure that the issuer fully discloses information to help the investor kick the tires, so to speak, on your bond issue, so that they can fairly evaluate what they should be paying you to buy your bond. So that's it. It's a lot of information. We're happy to answer questions at any point in the process. We're not just here for tonight. We're here all the time to answer questions that you might have about this disclosure or other bond matters.
I've got a couple of questions. When you talked about the municipalities and states that where there was some personal liability,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was certainly protected by insurance policies and some attorney representation for those individuals, right? Or is there some, piercing of that veil that goes beyond those protections?
Well, there's no immunity for these types of violations like there is under Kansas law for most kind of tort action. Whether or not this is covered by your E&O insurance, I think depends on the issuer, and it probably also depends on the circumstances, because typically there are exceptions in insurance policies for certain types of behavior. So I don't know for the individual tenants here, whether they're insurance related or whether they pay for it personally or whether the city that they work with decided that they would, front that expense for the individual. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, can I ask a quick question? And so I guess my question to staff would be, we have a errors and omissions section as our liability insurance.
Were you talking about D&O or E&O?
E&O.
Okay.
I guess the question I was asking staff was if we have that, and if that covers just kind of the staff practice, or does that transfer over to the governing body as well?
I would have to look that up.
Okay. We need to take a look then.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay.
Email follow-up would be
But-
nice.
Okay, we need to look at our policy.
Yeah, like what Dottie was talking about, though, I mean, if you've got most of those policies, intentional torts are excluded, and the type of stuff Dottie's really touched on in the presentation are intentional misrepresentations. And so typically insurance won't cover that type of liability.
What weighting is there, though, on individual members who may have gone on record as having opposed policy decisions? Is there any weight given to that during those legal proceedings, or is everybody, as a group, responsible for that? I guess
I don't know. I've never
Yeah.
seen that particular set of circumstances discussed by the SEC.
Of course, I'm mostly referring to the EUB ordinance that we've debated for months, and a couple of us have gone on record as having opposed, some of the illegal practices that are occurring there. And I guess I'm wondering if that's...
You're wondering if you've got Kevlar underpants.
Well, yeah. If not just me, but hopefully as motivation for others who will see the light and come over to the right side.
Well, I'd like to interject real quickly. They're very fact-specific in a lot of these cases, and they will select some of the, I don't want to say more bad actors, but they will focus on, and as we've listed some of the city managers, a budget director, they have looked at their actions historically. When we read more than just the actions themselves, some literature associated with them, they do look at individuals, or it appears that the SEC will look at the actions of individuals. Whether somebody votes one way or the other, it hasn't been determined, at least in the literature that we've read.
But it pays to be on the side of righteousness, I guess is what I'm hearing.
Well, I would say a couple of things with respect to the whole disclosure discussion. One is that, you are required to disclose material matters that would be relevant to investors on your bonds. So that's kind of the threshold analysis. I would say in the court that makes that, in my opinion, as far as the others are disclosing something if you're not sure whether or not it should be disclosed or not. But sometimes you can make that analysis and conclude you don't have to disclose every single thing you have ever done wrong or things you might do wrong, but you do have to disclose things that could have a material impact on, kind of the value of your bond. And that really can involve lots of different questions and analysis to be able to figure that out.
I've got a question, and maybe this is more directed towards Laura, and we are at 7 o'clock, but I think it's important to ask the question. I know you mentioned 2 bond issues that are coming up, and one of the things that I took away from this is, they're wanting final and official statements and audited financial statements, and we don't have financial statement, audited financial statement